Okay, so in this, she should come in a bit. In this second session, what we want to spend some time doing is kind of going through the e-classroom and other elements. Here comes Hudlin. Let's hope she gets her audio sorted out. Hi, Miss Hudlin, welcome. Hi, Makeda Hudling. Is she back in there? Yes, she's here. Can't see her though. All right, here she is. Hi, try unmuting your mic and so that I could ask you a couple of questions. Hi, okay, so your mic is unmuted, but still not hearing you. All right, so if you're having problems with your microphone, maybe you can answer these questions in the chat. Um, just wanted to know what program you're doing, whether or not it's your, no, no, how far into the program are you, whether you're full time or part time, and if you have any background in economics. So those are the questions I was asking people. So it doesn't seem that your microphone's working just yet, but it's something you probably need to sort out. Mhm. If you get a chance, you could put those responses into the e-classroom. You've been having this problem since the beginning of the week. All right. Um, what device are you using? Are you using a PC, a laptop, or are you using a smartphone? Hmm. All right. Well, let's get cracking along. Hopefully, uh, for whatever purpose we have here, we will be able to share what's going on. All right. So please let me know if you're seeing my screen. So the
Yes,
first
sir.
thing, right, good, thank you. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take us to the e-classroom. So you've already been pre-enrolled in this the classroom, um, because I do manual enrollment. All right. Let me just make this a little bigger so you can see things easier. All right. So let's look at the page and see how things are laid out. So the first thing we have is under student resources, we have a set of textbooks. I would recommend that you download these textbooks for your use. These are the textbooks that are referenced in the readings for the various parts of the course, the various units. And there's an economics dictionary here as well for you to utilize as an additional reference. There is the course outline with schedules. I had asked people to download this, so we'll be going through that today. The group pair evaluation form, that's for something else. We'll speak about that later on. The link for the class is here. If I don't post it into the WhatsApp chat group, this is the this is where you'll find the link, and you just click on this, and it should take you to the MS Teams application. This would be a good idea for whatever device you're using it, that you install the application on the PC, laptop, or phone, because it works smoother that way. And then you'll be constantly logged in, so messages and stuff will come up in terms of when you have schedules of classes and so on. This here is the WhatsApp chat group that I was asking people to join. Um, from what I'm seeing, we still have some people who haven't joined yet. From the list here, I have 27 people. We have 30 people in class, so at least 30 people enrolled in the class, which means we're still missing about 3 people from the group. I don't know if Miss Hudlin has been able to navigate to this just yet, um, or Miss Ramdas. So there may be somebody else here who hasn't yet enrolled in or joined the WhatsApp chat group. If you're having problems, let me know, so I could post the link into the chat for this class so that you could look at that. This is a link here on citation requirements. And this is going to be a big thing for us. These are some other resources for utilizing or using citation, formatting your paper for APA style, and so on. These are important in terms of you being able to prepare your work, your assignments in particular, for submission in the formats required for academic work at this level. Okay, so these are some resources here for you to utilize. So session recordings will come here. So, like for instance, the the recording for today's session that have started now will be placed in this section here, so that anybody who misses a session can go back and review what they've missed, and any subsequent recordings that we do, or further recordings that we do, I'll put them up in this part of the e-classroom. That then brings us into one of the first assignments that you have. It's a 5% assignment called a forum discussion. And the forum discussion is pretty much, the instructions are here. These are the questions that you have to write a response to and upload into the forum discussions. If you click on this, you would see the same. I should probably update this here. Oh no, this is correct. Um, you should be able to add, when you click on add new topic, you should be able to upload either type in the response or upload a file which your response did. I would prefer that you probably upload a file, because that way you can do the appropriate citation for your response and so on, and then you submit it to the poster forum. So in essence, what you're doing is you are going to provide a response to these questions here, that are listed here for 20 marks. And you are then also required to look at somebody else's contribution to the chat, to the forum, and comment or critique their work, so that I can see that you're kind of thinking along the lines and that you've understood the work properly. The guideline generally is that each part of the questions or your responses should be no more than 300 words. But each of these questions need not be 300 words. Some of it can be less, some of it can be more. But in total, if you have 4 parts to the question, then we're looking at a maximum of 1,200 words, not inclusive of citation. All right, so those are things that you're going to have to pay attention to in terms of doing the work for this. So this is your first assignment that is live. It's live already. There's a due date of the October the 10th, to try and get this sorted out and done. All right. Um, that then takes us down to, and I've left this open all the way with the assignment everywhere, so you can look at it and it's there in front of your face to remind you to do your assignment. Now, this blue section here is what we call the assignment submission portal. So, um, with your assignments, you have three basic assignments that you're going to be doing, at least written assignments that you're going to be doing. You have an individual assignment for 15%, and you'll see why it's 15% because it's related to the journal that we have above. All right, somebody's trying to get in class. Let's find out who that is. Amanda Joseph. All right, welcome back, Amanda. All right, all right. So, Amanda, your the device is working. All right. So, just to share this with you, so Miss Hudlin says that she's completing an AAS in business administration. She took a year off and reapplied this semester. Right. So she's here part time. She did economics at CSEC, and she's also using a laptop. I'll get the microphone sorted out for your next class. All right. So thank you for answering all those questions, Miss Hudling. Can't wait to hear your voice. And welcome back, Amanda Joseph. Is everything working with your device?
Yes, sir.
All right, good,
Nice.
cool. Whoops. I'm just taking a note here of who has previous experience with economics, as I had asked in the past. All right, so thanks a lot for updating us with that, Miss Hudling. Um, all right, so we're coming back to the e-classroom now. All right, so we will go through in more detail these assignments. But what I want to show you here is that there are two parts to the submission of an assignment. The first part is the Turnitin. Now, how many of you are familiar with Turnitin? Or for the majority of you, this is the first time you're coming across this aspect of assignment. Some responses would be useful, guys.
So this is my first time.
Your first time, okay.
Uh,
All
it's
right,
it's
sorry, I
so I
had
used it
this.
already.
You used it already?
I used I was at UES.
That's Geneva. Who's talking there?
18, 80 for
Uh, Say that again, sorry. I'm not hearing you clearly.
80 for
Francois. Okay, you're very muffled for some reason. Okay, so for those of you who may not be familiar, you will come across the issue of citation um, in your, well, you're supposed to come across it in your first year experience course, and anybody who is doing the libs class will also come across it. So what Turnitin does is that Turnitin is a plagiarism checking device. It looks for similarity between the assignment that you're putting together, and it does a search on the internet and with other sources of information to see how much of your work might be similar to um, somebody else's work and indicate to you what your similarity rating is. Now, we are saying here for you to submit your final draft, you should make sure that your similarity ratings are no greater than 15%. All right? Because greater than that means that you have far too much work that is simply copied from somebody else. So when you click on this portal here, it will take you to a place. Well, you're looking at it from my perspective here, but it's going to give you the option to submit your file for comparison. Now it takes a little time because it's a search engine that is going to start to work. It's going to take your file and compare it to the internet and to other sources of information and it will then give you a similarity. It usually takes about, sometimes it's very quickly, it does it very quickly. It depends upon the traffic in the system. Now, your first three attempts at this, you should get back a response within an hour or so, if not faster. But after your third submission, it's going to start taking you a 24-hour period to be able to get that done. All right. So what happens is when I come here, I can look at your paper and look at the Turnitin similarity reports. And then when we get to this point, when you start making contributions, I'll have a session with you all and show you all how this works and give it a little more detail. But the idea is that your similarity reports should come back with similarities less than 15%. If you find yourself with similarity reports that are too high, it simply means that you are submitting work that is too close to other people's work, and you have to already think about rewriting the concepts in your own words as much as possible, or utilizing the appropriate methods of citation necessary to reference that. And the referencing system that we require is the APA format. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with that, we probably need to probably have a little session and kind of go through what citation is all about and how it's done. Now, generally, from my experience, and I expect that in this very first forum discussion, you will have some issues that I'd like you to that I'll try to help you with, because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to try and help you successfully navigate your way through the program. And citation is a very important element because we don't expect that you are here to write new theory, but you are going to be utilizing other people's work. And when you do so, you need to give the appropriate recognition and acknowledgement of the work of other people. But more so, although you're using other people's work to formulate your responses to these questions, we still need you to interpret the information and explain it in your own words as much as you can to be able to indicate to us that you have understood the material and you are capable of, the critical thinking necessary for you to arrive at good conclusions from the information that you're drawing. So having good citation is indicative of two things. One, your work is cited and therefore is supported by what we call reputable sources of information. And two, you're doing the readings necessary, all right, for the material that you're dealing with. And so that's what the submission points are here for. So for each of the assignments that you have to do written work for, there are Turnitin submission points. Now, the one that is different is the group written group project, because that one is set up for submission as a group. So once we set you up in groups, when one person from that group does the submission, it submits for everybody who's in that group. All right, so you want to be a little you all have to be more strategic in how it's done, because again, you're working together on a project, and therefore you would have to be wary of how you're doing your submissions and making sure that people are aware that is going on. All right, I will get into those things. So in each case here, we're looking for 15% similarity rating, no more than that. I will help you. There are some misnomers and some issues with the system, and I'll help you with it and kind of go through, have some sessions and kind of give you the ins and outs of how Turnitin is a little, does a little tweaking. It also checks for um, artificial intelligence as well. So there's an AI scan in it as well too. So don't just go to ChatGPT and those AI generators and put your question in and get a response. Although I'm not saying you can't use that as a tool, but you have to be wary of the fact that we can measure and see that is what you're doing. Um, and that indicates that you're really not understanding the work. You're just wholesaling it from somebody else. And that's a huge thing in college work. The need to prove to the academic staff that you are actually doing the work and you're understanding the work and you're not just regurgitating things. All right. Once you've gotten your 15% sorted out, then you can go to this portal here and submit the assignment. And these are the assignments here, which we will go into more details when we start to look at the course outline. And once you submit it here, I'll be able to go in and download it, and then I'll be able to grade it and so on. That's the nature of how this is done. So only when you satisfy that 15%, and I will help you with that too, 15% similarity requirement, and there are no other issues with your assignment, will you, submit into your final draft. Again, the group project, in the final draft, there are two elements to the group project. One in the Turnitin area, but two because part of your group project also requires a PowerPoint. There's a presentation of which I expect that you'll be utilizing a PowerPoint submission. Do not submit these things until after the presentations has been made, and there's actually a deadline of the 30th of December for those things. And the second assignment here, the journal submission, is 15. As I said, we'll deal with that in more detail. But this is the portal in which you'll be submitting your assignments. So that's what this is about. Now, just below this, now, any questions about this part here? I know it might be a little intimidating.
Excuse, we don't have a final as exam.
No, there isn't a final exam for this course. Yay! Isn't that good? Yes, Nakia.
Hi, sir.
Yeah.
I've used Turnitin for different classes before,
Right.
and this one time I had over 15%, and I was very frightened because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't copy anything. And then I had to call my teacher because when I did check it, Turnitin has this thing where it likes to put like a kind of red covering over simple words
Mm-hmm.
like and these different things, and it
Yeah.
raises it
Yeah.
with
Well,
hinted.
you see, this is where I come in because that is a bit of an issue with the software.
Mm-hmm.
And once I see that is what's happening, then I can say, okay, well, disregard that percentage. You understand? So focus only on the percentage areas that are um, significant in terms of having to do any work. And that's what I mean. I'll work with you in terms of what your reports are showing you in terms of similarity and say, okay, you could disregard this amount, you could disregard that amount, and so on. So, for example, when you're responding and you're formatting your response, sometimes you actually put back the questions themselves because you'd have to do table of contents and all that kind of stuff for very large papers. And in doing so, it'll start to identify those things as things that you're copying, but you can't not state the question that you're responding to. So those things become deductible from the overall percentage. So though you may get a report that says, okay, you're at 35%, of the 35, more than 20% might be stuff that we can disregard because of the anomalies attached to the software. That makes sense? So don't be
Yes, sir.
afraid. Don't be afraid. It's a tool for us to utilize to help you understand the need for citation, but there are limitations to the use of it. So don't panic when you see something like that, which is one of the reasons why when people get kind of panicked sometimes, because I had one guy, he submitted his work, um, got a pretty, he got like a 35-40%, and he went in and did some work and fixed it, and then resubmitted it. But what happened, it stores the paper and it compared it back to itself. He got almost 95% similarity. So when I realized what he had done, I told him, okay, no, we could disregard all of this element here, and we could work from that. So again, I am here from an advisory in an advisory capacity. So when you do have issues like this, you can just simply message me, and we could get on the system together, and I could look at your work and advise you accordingly. That's why I have you on a chat group, so that you could communicate with me quickly about these things, because especially if a due date is coming up, you want to try and get your work done and in at that time frame. All right, that makes sense. Everybody's kind of following that.
Yes, sir.
All right, how many people are familiar with overall citation issues and citation requirements of the program? Is everybody here familiar with that? Or is there anybody who's not familiar? All right, so put your hands down. Just people who are not accustomed to citation. Put your hands up. All right, one, two. Wow, okay. So this might be a bit of a steep learning curve for you guys. Um, so we'll probably have to do some work in this area and bring people abreast of what's required. So in the past, what you might have, thanks a lot, guys, for show of hands. You can put your hands on now. So in the past, for example, when you're probably doing your CSEC and that kind of stuff, you quite literally would go online, research something, and copy and paste it. All right, now if your hands are up and you want to ask a question, I see Kern and Adam, your hands are up still. Is it that you have some questions to ask? If so, open your mic and speak. Mr. Reed? Adam?
No, sir. Actually, my hand was I forgot to
Oh,
unraise it.
it's still up.
Still on.
Yeah, yeah. Click on lower hand. Right, now it's off. All right, so we'll do a section on that, and we'll see, but the first place that is going to come up in terms of citation is in the forum discussion, so we could tackle some of the elements there, because in the instructions for the forum discussion, you are required to do citation, and I would recommend utilizing something called the APA format. I'll show you some other things in relation to that. All right, so let's leave this for now, and we'll go on to the rest of the e-classroom. So the e-classroom now, in terms of the content, the subject material, is separated into various units. So unit one, there's an introduction, and what you have here, a couple of videos to look at. There are some readings here from the textbooks that you have provided. Um, their page numbers and so on for you to go and read. There is a PowerPoint presentation that you can either, well, a while ago I'd done this presentation with a narration. So if you click on that, it'll take you to YouTube. And unfortunately, YouTube now does all this nonsense with um, with advertising. So before you can get it, you're all familiar with this, right? I mean, this nonsense that's going on with YouTube now, with all the advertising that's taking place, and yes, all this inappropriate nonsense that's going on. Why are we doing this? I usually don't.
Excuse sir, that's not
Uh-huh.
relevant to class, but like if you go on the Chrome web store, you would see ad blockers for YouTube.
Uh-huh. I know, but remember, this is linking through. So this, what I'm trying to get you to is this thing here, where I actually uploaded a video of the unit one, so you could go and look at it, um, and work with it that way. Yes, and I know that about the ad blockers and stuff. The problem that comes up with it is it also creates a bit of an issue for the all right. So it creates a bit of a problem with blocking some of the material that's coming up. All right. Um, anyway, but you all will understand how to use this across the board. But you can also choose to, but thanks to the information, you can also choose the no narration and just download the PowerPoint itself. That PowerPoint will go through all of the material, the learning outcomes from this course, this unit. And once you're completed with the information, that going through the information, the unit then ends with a quiz. So somebody was talking about no exams. So technically you have exams, but what I've done is I've separated the exam into unit quizzes. So as you finish a unit, you then click on the quiz, and you see you're allowed 3 attempts. The quiz is already open, and it will close on December 31st. But technically that's midnight of the 30th. All right. And you would no, I'm in a teacher mode, right? So that's my role here. Um, but as a student, you can go to the e-classroom, into the, all right, so let me change my rule here. Switch roles to student. Okay, cool. All right. So this is what you're going to be doing. So I already went through this version of the quiz. So the quiz um, and it is like this. You have these questions in a multiple choice format, and you answer the questions, and you submit them. So you go through all the questions for the quiz. Now each quiz is made up of 10 questions, all multiple choice, and you simply get an opportunity to respond. Now I'm applying, or offering people the option of the option multiple attempts at quizzes to try and set it up in such a way that you can, if you don't do well in the first attempt, you have subsequent attempts that you can utilize. Now the reason why I've done that is not for you to just sit there and just go one time, one after the next. If you go through one time and you don't get a good score, it means that you haven't quite understood the material. So it means to go back into the material um, and revise it before you go attempting it a second time. Because at the end of the day, the objective here is to get you. Hi, Kern, you need to mute your mic. Thank you.
Sorry about that, sir.
That's okay. That's all right. All right. So the objective here is I give multiple attempts at a quiz so that you can have an opportunity to improve your understanding of the material. That makes sense? And as you move through from unit to unit, the format is the same. If you go to unit 2, there's a YouTube video, there are the readings, there's the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation of the same content that I did, and then there's a unit quiz involved. In some in some of these, you're going to find more video material available. Some of them are just straightforward stuff that you're going to look at. So as you move from unit 2, you go to unit 5. Now this is my bad. I normally teach this course out of sequence. So I go from unit 2 to unit 5, which is consumer behavior. I have a video that I had done way back back a couple semesters ago that I've left here as a as me going through the PowerPoint. So that might be useful for you. These are the readings again. These are some additional videos that I've put in place for you in terms of explaining certain concepts in consumer behavior, and then of course a quiz that again, if you click on that, you would see that you have 4 attempts at this. Reason for that is that I think some topics are a little more difficult, so I'll give you more attempts to try and get it right. Others are fairly straightforward, but I usually give you at least 2 chances for it. So then we move from unit 5 to unit 3, which is demand and supply. And again, we have the same thing. I have a recording of me explaining the YouTube, the PowerPoint. So you could use either or both. I've added the readings for the chapter readings for the unit, some videos. I like this guy here. He's really nice and clear in his stuff. Just has some enunciation issues with his accent that he uses. Gets up to all kind of weird stuff. I hope you all enjoy these videos, and some additional videos here that you can look at to get clarification of all of the areas of supply and demand. And then of course a quiz. Then Unit 4 on elasticity. These are the topics. Again, the readings, the PowerPoint, the videos, the quiz. So you're seeing a pattern to the way everything is set up. Yes? Then theory of the firm 1, readings, presentation, some videos, quiz. Then theory of the firm part 2, readings, PowerPoint presentation, and lots of videos. All right, and then a quiz. Then we have theory of the firm 2, part 2. So there's a second part to the part 2. So it's almost like a part 3. And again, we have one PowerPoint presentation because this is specific to the graphing. So there were no really big videos on that I could have found that were useful. So I did a PowerPoint on that, and there's a quiz on it. All right, any questions about what you're seeing here so far? It looks fairly straightforward and simple, right? Yes? No?
So,
Yes, Simon?
Yes.
no, so I was saying, yeah, it looked very easy.
Right. It looks straightforward. There will be issues. I think. I mean, nothing is as plain as we talk about. Right. So now, all right. Anybody has any questions they want to ask, and then we will go through the course outline now, where this is where we're going to get into a lot more details of what is expected of you. Everybody seeing this? Yes.
Yes.
No. Maybe.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it? All right, cool. So let's look at the course outline because this is your Bible of in terms of the material that you're looking at, and it kind of guides you on everything that you have to do. So the first page here kind of gives you the basic information of the course, the code, its daytime and CRN number, prerequisites, co-requisites, teaching methodologies, total number of assessments. So you'd see here, of all the things I've showed you already, you'd see you have 8 quizzes, and I'm taking your best 7 out of the 8, and that is weighted at 30% of your final grade. The online forum discussion is 5%. The first individual research paper is weighted at 15%, and the reason for that is that part of the questions for the individual research paper or your first assignment is in the forum discussion. So it's kind of like an introduction into how to answer the questions for your research paper. So therefore, we kind of split it up in terms of the weighting because the same questions return in the individual paper. All right. Then you have an individual articles journal, and I'll explain what all that is about. That's weighted at 20%. The group research paper, the written element, is weighted at 20%, and the presentation is weighted at 10%. Sorry, that's 20 and then 10%. My bad. So for a total of 100% overall. Makes sense? You notice again, there's no final exam that you have to come out to school and write and go and panic about you. But you do have unit quizzes. Does that sound a little better than a massive final exam?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the shorter quizzes lend itself to better learning because you get to test out the material as you deal with it. That makes sense so far, right? Okay, so this is the information for contact. So you have all my email addresses. You have my mobile contact number, which is already on the WhatsApp chat group. I would meet with you either via WhatsApp calls or via Teams or Google Meet, whatever is appropriate at the time. If you need to, I usually reach out and call you guys, and just in the event that there are problems. Sometimes you might message me with a problem, and instead of trying to message you back with an approach or a solution, I will call you and have a discussion with it. So don't refuse my calls unless, of course, you're at work or something and you can't take a call. Then I'll call you at an appropriate time. You would let me know when you can think. I'm open to that. All right. Now there should be no need to really use my email addresses for assignments because all your assignments have to go into the assignment portals, and hopefully everything should work out from that thing. If you need to speak to me, again, just contact me and we'll set up an appointment for office hours and so on. All right, communication policy. You all can go through and read these things. Generally, I'm available all the way through the week, on Saturdays as well. I do allow myself some to speak to people up to about 4 o'clock on a Saturday. Sundays, give me some time to get some rest, be useful. All right. But even if on a Sunday, if you have a problem, you can message me on WhatsApp, and depending upon what I'm doing, I might be able to respond to you immediately, or I'll be able to respond to you. But at least the question that you're asking will be there, and you can indicate the degree of urgency because, let's say, for instance, a timeline is coming up for submission of an assignment, and you're kind of panicking about something. Then obviously you want to get an almost immediate response. All right. But try and don't abuse this, okay? So we'll see how it goes. But don't be afraid to reach out and contact me if you need to. All right, so we have a course description here. You all can go through this. This is a sort of visual representation of the course itself and all of the elements that make up the course. Let me make this a little bigger so that you might be able to see it. Again, this is in your download. You all already have this. For those of you did you all go on and download this document?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. All right, the rationale. So you all could go about reading. So let's go to the section that is probably more critical for you, and that is the section on the course calendar that kind of outlines the deadlines and dates for all the activities that we have set up for this course. All right, I'll need to make this just a little. All right, here we go. So of course, this is the first session here. So we're not going to have weekly sessions. All right, we supposed to be meeting with each other periodically over the semester. All the material is available for you online. You can work on the material as quickly as you want or as slowly as you want once you fall into the semester and finish off the work in a timely fashion, given the opening and closing of the classes. So we have what this course calendar is. It's laying out for you a sort of guideline as to where you should be at any point in time during the semester. So by next week, the 12th of September, I expect that you all would have tackled Unit 1 and gone through the quiz and the readings and that kind of stuff. All right. So this first semester, first meeting here, is really just about induction and introduction and getting to know each other, formatting our groups and whatnot, which is why we have an online session. Now, generally, what I do is on the WhatsApp chat group, I will message you guys to find out if every week you all want to have a session, you all want to meet, that type of stuff. There are a couple of must-do sessions. So session 2, which is the 19th of September, which is I'm suggesting that we meet here, um, is it's not mandatory that we come in, but it's based upon people's needs and requirements. But there are some things that I will try to get done with you along the way. All right. So by week 3, I expect that you'll have tackled both unit 1 and 2 and gotten your stuff there. You'd see that I have some of the same YouTube channel videos that are listed here are the same ones on the e-classroom. Just in case you can't get to the e-classroom, you have this document here that will give you various links as well for that. Weeks consumer behavior is a big topic, so I've assigned 2 weeks for you to go through all the material for that and complete the quiz for it. And right after you finish that, we should do a question, or we could do a session. As I said, it's not cast in stone. We could call for a session there, but that then brings us to the forum discussion, which is the deadline for submitting this. And remember, it's your response to the questions first, and then you download and read the responses from the other members of the class, and you comment on one of the individuals from your class. That makes sense? All right, you all understand that? We'll go through it in more detail in a little bit. All right. Week 6, I don't expect that we will have a session, but you should be tackling Unit 3 by that time, um, and submitting your forum discussion. So it's kind of a dual time frame here. By week 6, you'll be doing that. Then we have week 7. You should be on to Unit 4. We could also have a live session, session 4, on the 17th of October. All right. So again, I'll put that up for you guys if you want it. If not, so on. Individual assignment. That's the 15% assignment. This should be submitted by the 31st of October. Now, the 31st of October is also Diwali, I believe. So it's a public holiday, but in and around this date, you can upload your assignment if you can. All right. I'm not going to kill you all if you run late and stuff like that. But again, the course schedule is designed to kind of guide you as to where you should be at any point in time with the work that you're doing with the course. Next area, theory of the firm 1 and 2. I'm anticipating 2 weeks for that. So you should be tackling this, going through the material and tackling this area here. Now I've done something here that's a little naughty in terms of um, I might get myself in trouble for. But what I've done is that classes end on the 1st of December. That's actual classes. But I've set some submission deadlines for a couple of the assignments in between the end of classes and the submission for grades, where I have to submit your grades online. So, in essence, what I'm trying to do is give you a little extra time to work on some assignments. So, the journal assignment, I've set the due date for that. It's a 20% assessment. That is the 15th of December. Now, for those of you that will have exams, when we finish the 1st of December, the next 2 weeks up to about the 14th of December, you would have exams. Now, not all of you all would have written final exams. You might have some online exams to do, or you might have to actually go in and write an exam, especially those of you in the accounting degree. There's a lot of exams there because ACCA requires that you all do a lot of written examinations or computer-based exams. So you might have to go in to do a computer-based exam. So I'm trying to make sure that you all have a little more flexibility with your deadlines for submission of the journal assignment. And I'll explain what that journal assignment is going to be about as well. So I've placed that deadline there. So it's outside of the teaching time. So it kind of frees up things. But week 10 and 11, I expect that you should be finalizing theory of the firm 2. There's a unit that's not listed there, but Unit 8 is a self-directed unit, of which your work in that area, Unit 8, is actually contained in the very first assignment that you're doing. So it's a self-directed session. So the 7th and the 14th of November, I'm not planning to have any sessions there. But again, if you all need a session, we could always set up a session. However, I will want to do a session on November 21st, because that will be the week before the final class for the course. And on that course, that date, 28th of November, you all will be presenting your country analysis. This will be your group presentations will be taking place here, your project presentations. So I'd want to meet the week before just to make sure that everybody's ready for that. Kind of go through and give advice in relation to all of those things. All right. So far you're following. And then all your quizzes will remain open until the 30th of December. And you'll have until the 30th of December to finish all your quizzes. So it's going to remain open. The e-classroom is going to remain open for a bit longer than what we've been talking about. Now I've summarized the dates here in this thing, this last piece here. The online forum, 10th of October. Individual assignment 1, the 31st of October. Group oral presentation 28th of November. Journal assignment the 15th of December. Group written project 30th of December. And the group um, PowerPoint presentation should also be in by there. And quizzes are also closing on the 30th of December. So that kind of summarizes a lot of the information that's spread out in the course calendar. Any questions on this so far, guys? Does it look doable? Does it look manageable? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Not sure.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Some of you all sound a bit hesitant, but I'm trust you. Trust me. I'm trying to give you as much time as possible to kind of go through the material, understand it, and give your best responses across the board. All right. So let's go into details now over the on the assignments, each one of the assignments. These are the reading resources. As I said, these textbooks are provided for you on the links in the e-classroom. So if you remember, in the e-classroom at the very top, these textbooks are here. All right, so download them. These are the you don't have to go and buy them. If you have them already, fine. Because I know some people prefer the hard, the hard copy of things, but try and reduce cost to people. And then you could keep these books as well, and save them because they are also going to be useful for you when you do macroeconomics as well. All right. Okay, so let's move to. You all familiar with the grading system and stuff, right? Yes. And GPAs and all that kind of stuff. You all went through all these things before.
Yes, sir.
All right. So for those of you doing first, all right, for those of you doing first year experience, you all will get more details with this because they'll go through some of these things in those classes as well. And that's a fully online class as well too. If you have questions about these things, stop me and ask me. GPA and GPA calculations. All right, so let's look at the assignments here. So the first assignment is Appendix 1, the online forum discussion. We spoke about this already. Its due date is the 10th of October. I expect that by the 10th of October, you should have gone through these 3 questions, 1, 2, 3, 4 questions here, and write up responses to them with full citation. Save them to set them up like it's an assignment with a title page with your name and all kind of stuff. Submit it into the forum, and then look at a couple of your colleagues' work, read their responses, see how they went about on explaining it, and sharing. Basically, you're kind of sharing your responses to it, and so you have 2 elements. You have to upload your responses to these questions to the forum discussion, and you have to comment critically on the contributions made by at least one of your colleagues. When you do that, that will give you well, remember this is 5% of your final grade. It's marked out of 20%, but it represents 5% of your final grade. So once that is done, I will then give you a score, and I'll let you know where you sit in relation to that. All right, that makes sense? Once you finish the forum discussion. So you understand what you need to do. All right, so look at these questions using graphical illustrations. Explain consumer surplus, 5 marks. So obviously there's some sort of graph or representation. Now you don't have to go on, draw your own graph. You can download a graph online, but make sure it's cited properly, and then include with the graph your explanation with it. So it's not just the picture, you have to add the narrative, okay? Question 2, despite the disadvantages of price ceilings and price floors, why may governments still choose to implement these 2 forms of pricing strategies? So now remember, this question is not asking you to say what are ceilings and floors, but obviously you need to go and understand what are ceilings and floors, and you'd see the connection because this is an extract from the individual assignment that comes next, where you have the full structured questions that are coming out. So in essence, what we're doing is we're pulling out piece of the individual assignment and giving you an opportunity to respond to it up front, do the appropriate citation, and write up your responses. Do not submit this to the Turnitin forum, Turnitin portal, or else it's going to cause problems later on. And I will go through this with you and give you some critical analysis of the work that you're doing, in terms of how you're going about responding, whether or not you're meeting the academic requirements of the college, and so on. All right. So you don't necessarily need to tell me what ceilings and floors are. Just answer the question: Why do governments still utilize these forms of pricing strategies, despite the disadvantages? So you'd have to go through your discussion with that. Then you have the question on economies of scale and the shape of the long run. Yes, Sierra.
So in regards to this assignment, how would you format the way that you answer the questions? Do you write the heading, the number, and then answer it? Or
Yeah, you can do it like that. Yes.
okay,
And that is where because again in the individual assignment and journal assignment, this is where you get some similarities coming up. So that's why I say there are things that you could ignore when it gets in similarity reports. All right.
this is
But
one.
yes, but yeah, you could lay it out in such a way that you're responding. Question one, um, consumer surplus and that kind of stuff. So you can utilize the subheadings and headings here to help organize your response to the question, and the layout. In your layout for assignments, you're supposed to use a clear font. All right, the font. It's not here, but there's so these are the things you need to do. It needs to be a clear font, something that's easy to read. You should use double line spacing, so it's laid out in such a way that's really clear and easy for me to read. Make sure the font is at least size 12 or greater, depending upon the font that you're using. Um, you use paragraphing, so you don't end up with um, like like one line of just kind of clearly separate your work, or what we call paragraph breaks, to make sure that the work is easy to follow. Numbering is also useful. Now if you pass 4 pages, you're going to need to use along with a title page, you're going to need to use a table of content and page numbers, because that is the nature of how this works out. So for the forum discussion, this might take you about 2 pages, maybe a page, depending upon the size of the thing, because there's just a few questions that you're responding to. So this I don't expect that you'll have page numbering and stuff, but at least you should have a title page, so it indicates. Yes, Sierra, see your hand still up.
Yes, so I was just wondering if we would do this in Word and then submit the document.
Yes, yes. Remember I showed you that in terms of here, when you click on the forum discussion, the link here, um, you go down and to add a new topic, you'll simply go to the section here. You'd have to put in the topic name, subject name. So you put your forum discussion post, a basic message here, or you could put it and you put your attachment. So this is where you can put the file that you want to attach. And when it comes up in the forum discussion, students will be able to download your file, read it, and then they can return now when they're posting, and post a response by typing a response in this area here. So they don't need to upload a new file, they just put a response. That makes sense? Just a little trick, guys. If you click on this, you get some more menu buttons to allow for fancying up your your formatting. Now the problem is, if you were to type up the document in Word and copy and paste it here, you'd lose your formatting, because for whatever reason, this version of Moodle doesn't allow the formatting to stay. you'd have to reformat it, and it is kind of a headache. So the better thing is just to upload a upload a file with your response so that you don't lose the formatting and citation notation that has to take place in the document. All right. When you are responding to somebody's assignment, you could utilize this to type your message in and submit it. All right. But remember, anything that's tagged with these red asterisks, you need to return you need to put in a value here. Cool? Make sense? You're following what you need to do now in terms
Yes,
of the
sir.
forum discussion? All right. Okay. James is having problems. Welcome back, Adia. All right. So, no, let's go to the. All right. So there's a rubric here that explains how I'm marking this, and how the marks are going to be allocated accordingly. Okay. So if you go through the rubric, it should kind of explain to you what you need to be doing to be able to get good scores. But I don't foresee any problems with that. Now let's go to Appendix 2, which is the assignment 1, the first individual assignment for 15%. Now, this is what I'm talking about in terms of how you need to format the paper. So you have to take the instructions from here and apply it back to the forum discussion. Students are required to answer all questions from the assignment. Although your paper is being submitted online, it should be typed double spaced on standard size paper, which is 8.5 by 11, which is when you open the thing, that's the normal thing. 1 inch margins on all sides. You should use a clear font that is highly readable. The APA format recommends using a 12-point size font times New Roman font. Now there are other fonts to utilize, so don't just get, as long as the font is clear and large enough and easy for me to read. That is the key thing. This thing in brackets here is a link to a resource for you to utilize. I'll show you this later on. Your paper should include a title page, a table of page numbers, relevant section breaks, that is to separate your responses to the various questions and sections, and pagination, and all pagination needed to make the paper reader friendly. All submitted work will require citation. The APA format is recommended for use in this department. So this here again is a link to the resource for you to be able to do the citation necessary. Assignments without citation will not be graded. So that's something you have to pay attention to, because that's a very important element. If you do not cite your work, I can't write mark it. But again, we're in a learning curve here, so we'll go through that whole point. Yada yada yada. Right. So submissions must be made in soft copy to the submission point on the e-classroom. Students are required to submit their assignment in the Turnitin submission portal. Please ensure that your assignment does not exceed a similarity score of 15%. Submissions made after the date will be subjected to a 1% deduction. All right. So this is general policy. So we're going to keep to the 15% similarity score. I don't necessarily deduct for late days, as long as you and I are having a conversation. We can talk about what's going on. I wouldn't punish you unnecessarily if I don't see the need to do so. But if you don't tell me what's going on and you just posting willy-nilly after the date, then you will get some sort of deduction taking place. For clarification on citation, you could use this link here, which is also on the eClassroom. When you are creating the file with your assignment, you need to name the file using the following protocol. It'll be your name, followed by the course code, the CRN, and then the name of the assignment. So if your name is Jane Doe, or let's say your name is Aliyah Mohammed, ECON 120, CRN 10528, that's the CRN for this course. This is individual assignment 1, version 1, or forum discussion 1 version 1. You following it? Or journal assignment 1 version 1. Now, why would I say version 1? Because I might tell you in your work, or when you make your submission into the Turnitin, you might find your percentages too high. You need to take that paper back, given the report that you get, make changes, and then you would submit a version 2 to it. So you can also distinguish between which one is version 1 and version 2. So you know you would pay attention to um, ensuring that you are uh, tracking your development in the class, all right, and tracking your upgrades and fixes. Now, remember your files. I have to download and save your files. So I'm looking for you all to follow the naming protocols for all of the projects, except the group project. The group project will be slightly different because you can't use your name, but you'll use your group's country name in the layout of the naming process. All right. We'll get to that in a little bit. So the questions that you have to respond to are these. Now you'd notice that in this assignment, some of the questions that are, well, not some of the questions, all of the questions that are in the journal, this forum discussion are also here. So once I've marked what you've done for the forum discussion, you will reuse your responses for your forum discussions as the responses to these questions in this assignment, which is why we took 5% out of this from the 20%, because this was originally a 20% assignment, but because we did the forum discussion to give you all a little heads up on starting it up, we took 5 and put it to that, and then you just take those same responses and put them back into this, which is why you don't want to submit your forum discussion into the Turnitin, or else it's going to create a lot of problems when you submit this assignment to the Turnitin, because you'll start to get some very high numbers. All right, so now you see the assignment questions. You have the section on demand, supply, price ceilings and floors. So you have 5 questions covering that area, of which 2 of them were in your forum discussion, the first one and the 5th one. Economies and diseconomies of scale. One of these questions was in the forum discussion. So again, you'd put that back into this, but you'd have to write new responses to the questions that weren't in the forum discussion. Then you have distribution of income, 4 factors of production, derived demand, factor incomes, and explain why the demand for concert tickets is considered derived demand. This is the question that was also in the forum discussion. So you need to go and understand what is derived demand and so on. So in essence, what you're doing is you're already working on assignment 1, but you're taking parts of assignment 1 and submitting it into a forum discussion for us to have a look at what your work is. So in essence, what you should really be doing is working on this assignment, extracting from it your responses to the questions that are in the forum discussion, setting up a little forum discussion paper, submitting it. So it's like I'm going to mark that and say, hey, this is good work, this is not so good, this needs to be fixed, this needs to be addressed, and I'll give you advice on what you're doing, so that it'll guide you now on what you're doing right or wrong across the board. That makes sense? That sounds useful, guys?
Yes.
Yes, it
Mm-hmm.
does.
Any questions on
Yes, sir.
this? Any questions on this, guys? All right, so this is the end of this assignment. You'd see across the board, this is the overall marking scheme, and then we have the rubric for for the assignment, the marking for this assignment as well. All right, you'll notice a mark is set aside for layout, marks are set aside for use of language, marks are set aside for appropriate citation. So you'd realize that 70% on the content, 10% on layout, 10% on use of language, 10% on citation. So, try and don't make those kind of little mistakes and things with your citation stuff, because you could lose marks pretty. So the objective here is for all of these research-based assignments, you want to get the best mark possible um, going in. All right. Okay. This brings us to Appendix 3 and the journal assignment. So this one requires some additional reading on your part. So what you're supposed to do, this is a 20% assignment. It's due on the 15th of December. It's going to take a little more time for you to do. You have to find an article in the newspaper, local, regional, or international. Now, when we say the newspaper, so now we have to kind of expand our thinking. So this could be the online news, it could be newsletters, it could be the actual papers. You have to find an article that's not more than 6 months old that has a sort of economic aspect to it. Um, Once you find an article, you have to try and look at it and see if there's a microeconomic concept that you can see inside that article. Now, my guide is to assist you with trying to ensure that that's the case. So, if you find an article, you have to submit it to me, and the easiest way to do that is get a link or do a snippet and send it to me via WhatsApp or via email. I'll have a look at the link, or I'll have a look at the article, and I'll let you know, yes, this is a good article for you to do this assessment with or this assignment with. Um, and you have to use these questions here to respond to the thing. So you have to start with a summary of what the article is. You have to identify that economic concept that you've seen in the issue that is covered in the article. Define the concept you see here. Identify one economic concept discussed in this course that has been addressed by the article. Define each of these concepts, or define the concept, explain how the concept has been addressed in the article, and provide examples from the article to support your explanations of the relationship between what is discussed in the article and the economic concept. So a little long-winded, but in essence, what you're doing is you're looking for an article that is dealing with some sort of economic phenomenon that is of a microeconomic issue. So it would be things like demand, supply, elasticity, price ceilings, price floors, all those kind of things, theory, firm profits, that type of stuff. Those are the elements that you're looking for in an article that would allow you to do this piece of analysis here. Then you want to discuss one positive and one negative effect of the event or the issue that you've covered in the article. Describe that would affect being discussed that affects you as an individual. Describe two positive and two negative effects of the issue being discussed in the article that will have on a household. Describe one positive and one negative effect that this issue will have on the country as a whole. All right. Then question 6 will ask you, do you think government intervention is necessary with this particular issue? And of course, you'd have to say why or why not. Describe one likely outcome if the government intervenes. Please note you're not to identify the intervention strategy. So it's just what do you think would happen if the government intervenes? And then describe 3 measures that you would recommend the government to implement to deal with this issue or problem that you've seen in the article. So in essence, what this assignment is trying to do is it is trying to take the theory and put it into and link it to the real world. So this is where you're reading and paying attention to what's happening around you on an everyday basis, either from a local or international or regional standpoint, is going to help you to see that economics is not something that is only theoretical, but it's something that is practical. It's happening around us on a day-to-day basis. I have to approve your article, so you can't write up a journal without me approving your article. Do not wait until the last minute to find an article. Just remember, the article cannot be more than 6 months old, because in a lot of instances, issues become non-issues um, as we pass 6 months. In fact, 3 months is a bit much for it. Now, fortunately for you, we have a budget presentation coming up soon, and that is likely to have a lot of articles coming up after the presentation of the budget that will hinge up, that may have microeconomic implications. So there should be lots of stimulus for you to be able to pull an article and look at it. Primarily, then those will be more of a local nature. We have an elections taking place or getting ready in the United States, so you might have some stuff there that might have microeconomic implications. And generally, there may be other things that you could look at if you really understand the material, where you can make connections between the two. And I'm trying to bring it. You're all understanding what you need to do for this assignment? Yes? Maybe? No?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
good. First thing, you find the articles, all right? So you start looking at it. There's a rubric here now for that. And again, you can go through the details and you'll understand what that is about. All right, so the quizzes, I've already gone through this. And as I said before, there are 8 quizzes. I'm taking your best 7. Um, you will have, as I said here, at least 2 attempts for each quiz, and I will take your best score. It's not going to take an average, okay? It's the best score. I take the best score. So if you get 100% in the quiz, then that's what I'm going to take. All right. Each quiz is 20 minutes long, and it consists of 10 multiple choice questions. So in essence, you have 2 minutes per question to tackle it, and that will be worked. Now, the questions rotate because the banks that I have the questions in, there are 15 to 20 questions or so, so it's going to rotate through the questions. In fact, I've been adding more questions, so by now, some of the banks are up to 25 questions, 30 questions for each topic. So it's going to randomize the location of the answers. It's going to randomize the location of the answers, and it's going to randomize the questions that it's going to take up. So although you repeat or you take the quiz a second time, you may not necessarily get the same questions coming up, or the location of the answers may not be in the same place. So don't expect that you will, don't expect you'll get the same questions over and over again. Cool? That makes sense? So this is the schedule here. As I said, there are eight quizzes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm taking the best 7 out of it. Cool? All right. Any questions on the quizzes? Are we clear with that? Yes, we clear with that, guys?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Yes,
cool.
sir.
All right, so that then brings us into the, yes, somebody has a question? With somebody's microphone on. All right. All right, so that brings us into the final group project. No, it sounds like a lot. Now, the overall project is 30%, but it's split into 20% for the written project and 10% for the presentation. So in essence, we are going to form groups of 4 to 10 people, and you will you will choose a country that you'd like to research, and you'll conduct a microeconomic analysis of that country. Similar issues in terms of how the paper is to be done, same issue with the similarity reports and citation and all that type of stuff. But this has to be done as a group project. All right. Now, all the other instructions about citation, notations, citation, formatting, all of those things come across the same. All right. So let's look at the questions immediately. So you have, once you choose the country, I put you in groups and they're in the country. The questions that you have to respond to are are these here, starting with what type of economic system does the country have, explain 3 benefits and 3 drawbacks of this system to the specific country. So although there are general discussions in your textbooks about benefits and drawbacks of economic systems. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the specific advantages and disadvantages that the country experiences. So let's say you're doing Trinidad, then that um, you'd have to look at specific things for the economic system. Um, Discuss how the economic system allocates the country's resources, providing two examples of its impact on demand decisions and two examples on supply decisions for firms. All right, so demand decisions obviously affect consumers, supply decisions affect firms. So that's what, and again, this is specific to the country that you're discussing. What is the type of dominant, what is the dominant type of firms that exist in the country? Provide two examples per type identified. So if you identify that there, so when we say types of firms, firms fall into categories of they can be sole traders, they can be partnerships, they could be private companies, they could be public companies, they could be multinational corporations, they can be government institutional or government firms, all right, or government-owned businesses. So if you have to determine for the country that you're doing the research in, what is the most dominant type of firm. So it may not be one type, but you may find that, okay, the most dominant is private companies or public companies. But in some countries, you might find it's both public companies as well as government owned. Let's say you do in China, a lot of the companies there are actually government owned or government controlled. So those are the kind of things that you might want to discuss and give specific examples to them. So that's what we're looking for at question 3 here. What is the dominant type of market structure that exists in the economy? Provide two examples per market structure identified. So a market structure now would talk about whether or not the country has, whether they have a monopoly market, whether they have monopolistic markets, whether they have oligopoly markets, whether they have, well, there's no perfect competition because perfect competition doesn't exist, but they could have something near perfect competition, which we call monopolistic competition. But again, it's dependent upon the country that you're looking at. So like for example in Trinidad, we have oligopolistic competition as being one of the most dominant parts of the market structures that exist here. Because we're a small country, we don't need to have lots and lots of firms. And the way to do this is you need to understand what is market structures. All right, and that is part of the course that you're dealing with. So you need to go through the material and make sure you understand what are market structures and what is the dominant type for the country that you've chosen to research. So now, once you've identified the dominant market structure, you have to discuss the impact that that market structure has on output prices and profitability, which means how do firms operating in the market set up their output, determine prices, and what is the implication of that on its profitability. Now, if it's a monopolistic competition, then they have a choice of whether to control prices or control output, and therefore they tend to have high levels of high profitability, depending, of course, unless of course it's a government-owned monopoly, which might have different criteria of not profit orientation but service orientation, which is a different thing. And you have to provide examples of those kind of things. As I'm just giving you some ideas that you could come across, or scenarios that you could come across based upon the country. Now, because we've recently still dealing with the impact of the coronavirus from an economic point of view, the last question is about two positive and two negative impacts of the coronavirus on households or firms. Okay, so those are the questions. Now, as part of the overall project, you have to do an introduction, an overview of the country, and that overview should contain the demographics of the country, such as its location, size, culture, which includes its food, clothing, distinctive holidays, language, population, type of government system, current leadership, interesting places in the country, interesting facts about the country, and generally When you're doing this, you could pull together things, especially for the PowerPoint presentation, pictures and images, which you can also put into the final written project as well, because it helps to make the document look exciting and interesting. All right. So this is to be done in two parts. So you have to write up the project and extract from the project a presentation of it. Now, in the presentation, what I'm going to ask you to do, and there's instructions here, you basically you will be presenting your findings in about 20 to 30 minutes in a presentation in the classroom. All members of the group will have to participate, unless, of course, there's some extenuating circumstances, presenting the findings of their questions in the report and presenting their overall thing. So I'm going to be looking at your content, your presentation skills, and of course, with everything, citation is going to be required, even for your PowerPoint presentation. So that PowerPoint presentation and so on should only be submitted after presentations go on, and you see the due date for presentation is the 28th of November. That's the last teaching week of the semester. All right. Do not submit your PowerPoints and your projects until after presentations. All right. Even if you finish them early, don't submit them, because what I'm going to do is during the presentation, I'm going to be able to evaluate whether or not you've made any sort of issues, any sort of errors, and corrections will be required. So although you may lose marks in the 10% piece for the group project, what I expect is I can help to redirect you to ensure that your written project doesn't reflect the same mistake that you made in the oral presentation. That makes sense? So that you don't get punished twice for um, the same mistake. That makes sense, guys?
Yes, it
Yes,
does.
sir.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is why I'm setting up the deadline for submitting your projects, your PowerPoint project, and your group written project as the 30th of December, to give you all enough time to fix issues. All right. Now, because we're working in groups, generally students tend to complain that they don't like working in groups, and we tend to have trouble working in groups. So we do have something called peer evaluation. Now, peer evaluation is not something that you will do automatically. I will tell you if the group has to do the peer evaluation. Now, below here, I have, well, this is the rubric for the presentation, and this is the rubric for the peer evaluation, which is also on the e-classroom. Remember, we spoke about it here? This is the peer evaluation form here. All right. Only if I ask a class to do the peer evaluation, or it's another class, a group, to do the peer evaluation, will you do it. However, if you are working in a group and you're having issues, I need to know immediately that there are problems. Because rather than wait until the 99th hour for problems to escalate to the point that people cussing each other and want to beat the living daylights out of the people, then I prefer to head it off and confront the issue and help the group work through the problems that they're having. Okay, rather than wait until the 99th hour. The group presents good work, um, but there are huge issues with the how the workload was done, and people not doing their work and not submitting their elements and not doing the necessary corrections to the work that they have submitted and so on. um, I don't want that issue being at the forefront. What I prefer is that we have a good group activity, but if the event comes up and we have to use it, then the peer evaluation form will be, I'll ask the group to submit peer evaluation forms. Now, the reason why I don't like doing this is because peer evaluation is punitive in nature. So let's say, for example, you get 100% on the presentation and the you get 100% on the presentation and the project, but you do peer evaluation forms. The peer evaluation forms mean nobody in that class, in that group, will ever get 100%, because the peer evaluation score will determine the proportion of the overall score that you're going to get. So if your peer evaluation score is 50%, that's all you're going to get, because it's meant to punish people for not pulling their weight in a group. And I don't like using it, but it has become necessary as a deterrent to encourage people to work well with each other. All right. So rather than get to the point where we have to pull up a evaluation, I prefer let's confront the issues, let's deal with them, and work through and find a solution to the conflict that we engage in. All right. So for those of you who are doing the first year experience course, there is a section on group work and group dynamics and group development. Pay attention to what's going on there, because that is important. It really will become important for you to be able to work in groups properly. Now, remember, this course is not about you working alone, but it's about us working together for us to be able to understand and the material, because this material that you're going through here is important for macroeconomics that you have to follow on, and other courses like marketing and stuff that you have to do where there are correlations with consumer behavior and so on. All right, any questions? Well, you should have questions, but any major concerns people have at this point in time that they want to discuss? Yes, no, maybe, who knows? Guys, no questions? All right, so
Uh,
now what? Yeah, go ahead.
oh, I said no, sir.
No questions? All right, okay, so what we need to do now is we need to place people into groups. Why am I not seeing my full dashboard, right? Wrong dashboard. Go back to
Sir,
home.
you're still in student mode, I think.
Ah, thank you very much. That is, oh boy, how do I do that? Wow. Okay, wait, let me just get back to the classroom and then I could shift modes, I think. Um, we're in the, right, here we go. Uh, return to my normal. Alrighty then. Turn editing on. Okay, cool. All right, I want to go to where is it? Usually it's here somewhere. Here we go. Groups. All right, so there's an easy way for me to do this. Now we have 30 people registered for the class. Um, um, so I'm thinking group sizes of 5. So there are two ways. I can ask you all to um, create your own groups, or I can let the system generate groups. What do you all want to do?
Let the system create groups.
All right, let's try that. Let's try group namings. Naming scheme. Number of groups. Okay, so member count 5. Um, we could always students allocate randomly. All right, so submit. Let's see what happens. Haha! Wait a minute. We have. Oh no, I should have done 6 groups. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, let's go back. We have to edit this. Edit group settings. Yeah, 6 is a bit much for. Oh crap! I went to the wrong place. 6 is a bit high because you want an odd number. Um, so in the event that you all have any issues, you can let me check this auto group stuff. Group count should have been group member count should have been 5. Did I have that? Maybe I'll have to undo this grouping. Preview this. Alright, let's try 1. Preview that. Should have previewed it, didn't I? Yeah, random. Must contain at or. Alright, let's see asterisks instead. Number of groups is 6. Right, 5 members per group. Alright, so submit that. Wow, okay, so I have to delete these older groups here. Delete that selected group. Yes. Alright, look at select multiple here. Womp, 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 womp. Delete selected groups. Yes. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So group 1 is, all right, so I need to bring this information to a sheet here that I can provide to the class. Group 1 is, that's, crap, can't copy this one. Sorry, control. Yep, wrong thing. All right, so I guess I'm gonna have to do this the hard way. All right, so we have Bramble. That's Naomi. Huggins. Because you're gonna need to get to know each other. Jonathan or Jonathan? Jones. Andrea. Pitts. SENIQUE. Is that right, Miss Pitt? There's a kind of funny symbol coming up in your name here.
Yeah, it's an accent.
Accent on the I, the last I, or the E?
An E. The
All right,
last
so
E, yes.
it's Shanique. All right, cool. Let's leave it like that because I can't put accents on this thing here. I am Williams. This is supposed to be Williams Knots. KNOT. It's not or nuts? Yeah, it's not, right?
2 T's.
There's 2 T's, right? Or 2 T's. See? And it's see. I hope you all are taking note of your other members. RSHERE. I'm sure there's a way for me to do this more efficiently, All right, so what I want people to start to do is have to be awake for me to do this. Let me try the groupings overview. Let me try it here and see if I can grab this from here. The what I want you to do is to start thinking about countries that you would like to research. Now, we know we have an issue with one person who hasn't turned up in class yet. Who that is that is Ramdas, Ariana Ramdas, and she is in right. She's in group 5. All right, so group 2 we have Budu, Steffi, Steffi, Francois, Francois, Francois Stacy, STCY, Hudlin, HUDDLIN, Makeda, MEKEDA, Joseph, Shania, SEGNIH, Reed, Kern, group 3 is Jimda, Kayla, Kimraj, Ramatha, actually it's HEY. God, this must be boring as hell. CGOM. Right, so what you should be doing really is, as you can see, can you all see the names that make up the groups? Or is
Yes,
it
sir.
right, so try and reach out to each other, and what I want you all to do right now actually is to come up with a list of 3 countries that you would like to research. All right, and that is independent of each other. So you can either set up some sub WhatsApp groups for your smaller groupings, um, and you can put a link into the main group, and people could join it, and you all can have a little discussion as to what countries you're all thinking about. Because I need to start to assign you all some work to do. That way you don't leave everything for the last minute. Because one of the biggest problems with this course is procrastination. Because I'm not going to be on your back day in day out to tell you, make sure you're doing your work, make sure you're covering your material, that kind of stuff. I have to trust that you all are adult enough to you know do the work that you need to do. So procrastination becomes the enemy, and we know that is sometimes the I mean, I know as a student, Um, I I suffered from a lot of procrastination. That was my best friend was was last minute. So it's like the pot calling kettle black and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it is, especially when it comes to the the group project, you really do not want um, the the procrastination to come up there, especially because other people have other courses that they have to be dealing with. So you have to kind of make sure you kind of schedule things. So what I'd like you all to do is try to get together immediately now and start the process of streamlining a couple of countries. Come back to me in about 10 minutes or so and let me know what these countries are, and I'll update the groups with some details of it and give you some ideas of whether or not the countries you're selecting. So basically, what I want you to do is think about countries you want to learn more about. Try and leave Trinidad alone. We know enough about Trinity, all right? But try and look at countries you all are curious to find out more about. All right, and what I'll do is I'll create a table with this and put the table into the chat group so that, just to make sure everybody's familiar with who's in whose group and that kind of stuff. All right, that makes sense? Or you all working on it already? No, maybe? Or you all gone?
Working on it, sir.
All right, I hear you. Joseph, Amanda, Ian, E, L, no, yep, W, Valen, Ariana, Samaru, Alexandra. All right, I think I have everybody. working away here. All right. So there's an image in the WhatsApp chat with the groupings. That doesn't look very useful, does it? Okay, so what I can do is take this, cut, put it here. All right. Okay, I think I still have the recording running, and I think I can pause the recording because all we're going to be doing right now is getting back the information from the groups um, as to the selections that you've made. So I'm going to pause the recording now so that I can submit that and kind of make sense. All right. All right.